Telltale Games is back and possibly even better than ever. Telltale Games was a video game company that was recognized for creating these beautiful narrative experiences where your choices mattered. These choices often making us laugh, angry, or sometimes bringing us to the verge of tears. Okay. Sometimes the actual tears. They became very well known for releasing their video games in a episode-like release format, and much like television shows, they'd often leave us with a cliffhanger that would have us gamers at the edge of our seats and bringing us back every time to complete the new episode. Telltale Games would go on to license some popular IPs and go on to release popular titles like The Wolf Among Us, Batman the Telltale series, and even tackling popular TV show worlds like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. Some IPs went on to do better than others, but when it was a hit, it was a hit. Unfortunately, due to a combination of issues, the company filed for bankruptcy back in October 2018, only to be brought back by LCG Entertainment in 2019. LCG also went on to acquire some of Telltale's previous game assets, and they did announce pretty early after acquiring them that The Wolf Among Us 2 was in early development. Telltale Games went radio silence for some years, that is until last year when we finally got our hands on a trailer for The Wolf Among Us 2, and boy, did it look amazing. And now that brings us to our present day. Alongside the Among 2 update, Telltale Game also announced a new game called Expanse, a Telltale series, and that they were working alongside the developers Deck 9, who are also no stranger to narrative-driven games and are most recently known for making Life is Strange True Colors, which is another very well-loved franchise. So I think it's safe to say that Expanse is in good hands. Telltale Game really needs its first game to be a hit, and let's see if it's got what it takes. And for one, I am rooting for it. Vamonos. So what is Expanse? In a few words, it's Game of Thrones in space, but in more depth, the Expanse universe is set in a future where humans have colonized the solar system and factions have been in the brink of war and revolution. That is the premise for his television show, and this complicated dynamic remains in the game. The Expanse surged in its fan base after it was adapted for television from a popular science fiction novel series created by James Corey. And now, while I haven't read the novels, I will say that The Expanse is definitely one of the top science fiction shows of all time. It checks all the boxes for qualities of a rich world that Telltale Games would use. Combined with a Telltale's formula for storytelling, you got yourself a path of hardships and eternal tribulations for Telltale's cast, and that'll make for some good storytelling. The developers did state that they wanted to make something that was the perfect on-ramp for anyone unfamiliar with The Expanse, and having played the first episode, I can confirm the game appears to be very new-friendly. It doesn't overload you with too many things at once, but they did go on to say you'd obviously get more out of the game if you've seen the series. So here are some quick basic things you should know about the series. There are three main factions that you should be familiar with. You have the Earthers, which is exactly what it sounds like. They were born on Earth, or one of the inner planets, sometimes referred as Inners. And then you have Martians, who were born on Mars. Now, Earthers have a fortunate enough to live on a planet that is easily habitable and resourceful, while the Martians struggle producing anything on theirs. Then you have Belters, who were born on the asteroid belt, which is pretty much a combination of asteroids and space stations. The Belters are the oppressed and the working class. They work mining the solar system and providing resources to both Earth and Mars. And this creates a complicated and political and just a very real relationship between the three. There is just a very authentic content for each other among the three that is very real. For if it wasn't for the science fiction stuff, it could very well be real. I just really like when writing takes characters and drops them into a fantasy-like or sci-fi-like world, and you can see how it all plays out. The story will follow Executive Officer and Belzer, Kamina Drummer. Fans of the show will recognize the character and will be glad to hear that the actor Kara G will reprise her role as Kamina Drummer once again. This time around, we'll be learning about Drummer's history prior to the events of Season 1. Drummer will explore the dangerous and uncharted edges of the belt aboard the Artemis ship. The Artemis ship is a scavenging ship captained by Earther Garrison Cox and his crew of misfits. You must venture forth and survive while keeping your diverse crew afloat. The game starts off with a gripping flash forward, immediately giving you something to look forward to because who doesn't like a bit of action? And that has you wondering what went wrong. It opens up with our protagonist and two other crew members stuffing someone into an air vault, and we are kicked back to the past just as the drummer is deciding to whether or not space and kill this person. In the present, we quickly learn that the man in the vault is none less but our very own captain. As the story progresses, we learn Captain Cox has plans for his crew to board and scavenge the wreckage of a ship called Shinabi. He goes on to promise Drummer a big payday. Shinabi was a battleship for the UNN, which was destroyed by pirates, and stealing from the ship could bring undesirable consequences from Earth. We start off by assembling our crewmates and begin to get a little bit of insight into these characters. We meet our pilot, Contran, who is an Earther and also just a very, very vulgar grandma who doesn't hide the fact that she just does not give a fudge. We also meet Raisin and Arlen Morozov, who were twin brothers and the only other Belters other than Drummer. Little is known about them other than one being a resourceful crew member, but an asshole to his brother, while the other is a sweeter twin brother, but clumsier. In one of the brothers' rooms, you'll observe a band with an OPA symbol on it, which could foreshadow the brothers' ideologies and where their loyalties lie. The OPA stands for the Outer Planets Alliance, which is a social political movement that fights for the interests of the Belters. Now, with all movements, you always have extremists who take things too far. Those who watch the show know exactly what I'm talking about. The doctor in the crew, and while he does not go out to scavenge with the rest of them, he does patch his crew when they come back hurt. Little is known about him. He keeps a tight lip and is still a bit of a mystery. Then we have our engineer, Maya Costello, who is a former Martian Marine and a potential love interest of Kamina Drummer. Or maybe I read the room wrong. I don't think so, but we do know that Maya was dishonorably discharged for distributing anti-Mars propaganda, so we know that Maya is a bit of a rebel. And finally, we have Kamina Drummer. We know she was born and raised on the Belt in Ceres Station and once worked alongside Andrew Dawes, the leader of the OPA on Ceres. The story picks up with Drummer on the run from Dawes, and he's also another character you'll recognize from the show, but whether he'll be a part of the Telltale series is still unknown. Let's talk gameplay. Like its predecessor, the core fundamentals of a Telltale game remain the same. You can explore these small areas, but they are packed with plenty of content. You can then interact with the variety of items that give you intel on the universe and its characters. Like other games, when conversing, you'll frequently be prompted between dialogue choices, and you'll have to decide, some choices being more important than others, sometimes prompting a message like X character will remember that. If it's anything like the previous games, these choices will affect you down the line. Sometimes these things will be the deciding factor on whether X character will help you or not. And then you have these pivotal high-stake moments where you'll have to make a major choice that could even get characters killed. Sometimes these choices will alter the course of how the story is told, but for anyone who's played a Telltale game will tell you, there are certain things that are set in stone, and you just can't stop them, no matter how hard you try. More on gameplay, you'll board the ship and scavenge for supplies. You can walk, but you'll need to float through the air to get past areas you can't traverse on foot, so keep a lookout for any loot that may be hidden in hard to find areas. I want to point out that there are secondary objectives that may have consequences in later game. Also, another important note, the game does not give you warnings when approaching a point of no return, so again, be careful with that. In combat, there is usually done with timed prompts, whether it be in hand-to-hand combat or trying to overcome obstacles. While this is not an FPS shooter, there have been times where Telltale Games has given you control of a gun and you'd have to fend enemies off by pointing and clicking. That has yet to be revealed in this game, but I do hope we get something along the lines or better, because who doesn't like shooting space guns? Now, for things I wish that could have been better, I want to start off by saying by no means does the length of a game determine if the game is good or not, but episode 1 may be the shortest Telltale episode that I've personally ever come by. Even with interacting with every item, it was under 2 hours. My second run was about 45 minutes, but enough on that. Let's talk about the bi-weekly episode releases. I think it's about time that maybe we stop on this. Things have changed. People are less likely to wait around for a new episode to come out when we have so many other games and just other activities that may draw us away in a span of the 2 weeks after 2 weeks after 2 weeks. If Telltale really wants to do this, I think 1 week would suffice. And now there are a total of 5 main episodes with a bonus episode called Archangel that will release sometime in fall this year. You'll gain access to the bonus episode if you purchase the deluxe version for $44.99, which is only a few bucks more than the base game that sells for $39.99. The Expanse, a Telltale series, is available on Xbox, PlayStation, and only available for PC through the Epic Store. For any Expanse fans, let me know what you guys think of the game so far and what are you looking to see in the future. Let me know. Alrighty, adventurers, that wraps up today's video. Again, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to give us a like. It helps a ton. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest videos, hit that subscribe button. You guys can also catch me streaming on Twitch and Kick. I will definitely be completing Expanse the game in its entirety. Let me know if you guys would like a video for every episode or maybe just want to cover the entire series. I, for one, am very excited for the Expanse story. So let me know what you guys think. Peace.